No, it is, but I think that we have to go straight this way. We didn't have any choice, you know. That's it.
Now, I've been looking around at the equipment. You seem to have quite an odd selection of equipment. Some old equipment, some newer equipment. What sort of military experience do you have?
I really have, and before these days, before 1 week exactly, I have zero military experience. And after this week, after this revolution, we got a lot of weapons in our hands, and that's a lot of people who had some experience. As you know, that's a lot of the army in the east exactly, and most of them, all of them, are with us on one hand. So they gave some training programs to us, and the main programs you will experience it in this field, in this area.
But I'm not really, at the moment, we don't seem to be seeing much strategy in that. There's a lot of driving up and down the road between Breka and AlJazeera. I mean, are you actually going to advance at any stage?
As you know, at first, this revolution is a youth revolution. It's not a revolution, it's not army organized, or it has no strategy. And really, I myself, from my opinion, the army, we blame the army that this Gaddafi is still there for these days, because after the military come to us, they want to organize us, and they wasted a lot of time. They wasted a lot of time, and so we can see that the Gaddafi has a lot of time now. He can speak, he can etc. He can do whatever. For example, yesterday he attacked with air forces in Brega. So a lot of them here now are volunteers, and some of them are from the army, but they are going with themselves and with their own ideas. So we have really, yes, we have some problems, yes, and in the way of strategy and etc. But everything until now, from 17th to this point, are from our public revolution.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Fathi. Being quite frank there about the problems facing the rebel force, the fact that many of the fighters here had no military experience up to the week ago, and a slight amount of criticism there as well for the fact that the army had not played a role earlier in tackling and challenging the regime of Muammar Gaddafi. But certainly today we're not expecting more sorties, because as you can probably see, we're right in the middle of a sandstorm here on this ridge just above the village of AlJazeera. And not really much opportunity here for more sorties to be carried out against the rebel troops. Really a chance for the rebels to regroup, and we have seen them moving their weaponry up the road a bit from Breka, slightly more organised, slightly more disciplined than on previous days. They do actually seem to be lining their guns up now and aiming them in the general direction of where they believe that the Gaddafi forces may next attack from. Back to you, Adrian.
Jackie, many thanks. Jackie Rowland live there in eastern Libya, in AlJazeera. As we were reporting earlier, Barack Obama has again called on Muammar Gaddafi to step down, but the US president wouldn't commit to imposing a no-fly zone and stressed the importance of giving the Libyan people a major say in the uprising.
There are a whole range of options, military and non-military, that we're examining, and we'll be making these decisions based on what's best for the Libyan people, and how can we make sure that we're minimizing the harm to innocent civilians during this process. Throughout all this, we will continue to send the clear message that it's time for Gaddafi to go. One of the extraordinary successes of Egypt was the full ownership that the Egyptian people felt for that transformation. That has served the Egyptian people well. It serves U.S. interests well. We did not see anti-American sentiment arising out of that movement in Egypt, precisely because they felt that we hadn't tried to engineer or impose a particular outcome, but rather they owned it.
Venezuela's President Hugo Chavez continues to push his mediation plan, despite the idea being rejected by Libyan opposition groups and Western governments. Protesters there have added their voices to the uprising, chanting slogans in support of the Libyan people. They condemned Chavez's proposal to work with Gaddafi, whom they labelled a murderer. The Venezuelan president accuses the United States of exaggerating the uprising. Joining us once again here is Shadi Hamid, Director of Research at the Brookings Institution here in Doha, and a specialist in Middle Eastern politics. You were listening with interest to the man that Jackie Rowland was speaking to live there in Libya. What did you make of what he was saying? Zero military experience, never handled a weapon until this week. By his own admission, no strategy, no organisation, or very little organisation among the opposition groups that he's with. I mean, what hope does the opposition have in Libya of achieving their ultimate aim, the overthrow of Colonel Gaddafi?
Well, their goal is clear, and that's to move into the western part of the country and overtake Gaddafi's strongholds. The problem is, and as we just saw, they don't really have the capability to do that. They don't have the air power or the equipment, but more importantly, they don't have the people who can actually run that operation in terms of having the necessary military experience. So what's going to be key then is how many defect from the army, at least a part of the army that's still loyal to Gaddafi, to the side of the protesters. The more defections, the more that's obviously going to help the rebels. The other option, of course, is international intervention, and we have been hearing requests from the ground in Libya saying it's time for the world to do something more, and that could include a no-fly zone and taking out the air defenses of the Gaddafi regime.
One can understand, though, the Western reluctance to impose a no-fly zone. That, by its very nature, would necessitate military action, and of course any military action risks civilian casualties.
Sure, but at the same, we're seeing mass civilian casualties now anyway, so it's a question of choosing among bad alternatives. I mean, there's no ideal solution here. So I think you have to weigh advantages and disadvantages. And if it becomes clear that the rebels can't overtake Tripoli on their own, then we're going to have a stalemate for days, if not weeks.
That's essentially what we've got at the moment, though, isn't it? What has to happen to tip the balance, to say, for instance, to bring about more defections from the army?
Well, I think international pressure is important to keep that up. Sanctions, travel bans, that's already been happening. But it's clear that that's not enough. And Gaddafi isn't a normal leader. He's not like Mubarak or Ben Ali. He's not going to voluntarily step down. He's made very clear he is going to fight to the very last drop of blood. And that complicates matters. So we're talking about real risk of civil war, and we're talking about a Bosnia or Kosovo-like situation where you have mass slaughter of innocent civilians. We've already been seeing that, but what happens when we get into thousands more being killed with no resolution in sight? And if Libyans are asking for the world to intervene with a no-fly zone, that's something that the world should at least listen to and take into account very seriously.
Okay, for the moment, Shadi Hamid, many thanks indeed. There's plenty more still to come here on Al Jazeera. We'll have more on the demonstrations and uprisings that are happening throughout the Arab world. We'll also have the rest of the news from right around the world. Stay with us. It's full steam ahead for Chinese defense spending. We'll find out who feels threatened by a better equipped People's Liberation Army.
3, 2, 1.